Joining me now is Saginaw's Vice President of Communications, Joey Battaino. Joey, thanks so much for joining me on the call.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joel. I appreciate it.
Unfortunately, Saginaw season came to a close after the regular season, but what are your overall thoughts on the team's play this year?
Well, as you know, going into the pandemic, the team had won the West Division during the 18-19 season and then was in first place at the pause, and was one of the top teams, not only in the OHL, but in the Canadian Hockey League, and really thought that Saginaw had an opportunity to win not only the OHL championship, but also the Memorial Cup. So really tough to obviously lose that 1920 season and then to not play in 2021. You almost saw a full roster turnover from Saginaw from their division championship team in 1920 to the team that we iced in 2021-22. So to have 17 new players on opening night, it was a big change and a retool kind of on the fly for this group. I think at the end of the day, it was a development year for sure. It was nice to be able to get the young guys some more time throughout the year and especially down the stretch. And I think for the most part, it was a growing season and everybody got a lot out of it. And, everybody's coming back excited about this group, especially after the announcement that was made on Thursday.
And heading into the priority selection, how exciting is it for Saginaw to receive two first round picks this year?
It's huge. We talked about the roster and where this team is at. It's so young. To have two first round picks this year, of course, you have the pick that comes back to the team this year at 19. It's huge. It's a very deep draft from what I understand. And obviously to pick number one with Michael Misa on the table and Saginaw makes that pick to have him in the fold and now to add another high caliber player from this year's draft to pair with Luke McNamara, Olivier Savard are high picks, and then our players returning for next year. It's a really exciting time. As you mentioned, it was a bit of a down year for the team this year, but I think very possibly the Saginaw group could be a contender as soon as next season.
You mentioned Michael Misa on Thursday. Saginaw selected him first overall. What qualities did the team see in him that they picked him first?
Well, you look at the way the team plays and the system that they run, and it's a very puck possession style team. It's a very skillful team. And I think Michael Misa has those tools that show that not only he's that type of player, but he's that type of player at an elite level for his age group. And I think that's why Hockey Canada and the Ontario Hockey Federation recognized his skill set as being an exceptional status player and letting him in the league a year early. I think it shows that he's ready to contribute at the high end. You look at all the players that have been given that exceptional status and they've come in as a 15-year-old and been a difference maker with their team. So obviously the club is excited about that. They've seen what Michael did, in particularly in the OHL Cup, where all eyes were on him, and all he did was break Connor McDavid's points record. So when the lights are the brightest, the kid comes through. So that's great to see. And obviously we'll have to see what happens once the season starts, but everything that we've seen leading up to this point tells us that he's going to be a very high-end OHL player.
The draft lottery was obviously last week, and Saginaw received that first pick. What was the atmosphere like in Saginaw when you guys saw that it was going to be your team?
Was a lot of excitement and I think maybe some relief because I mean, at the end of the day, the feeling was, if not for the pandemic, this team would have had a really good opportunity to win a championship. And of course, in 20 years of the franchise, a championship has eluded this team. And to have the pandemic kind of take that away from us was a tough pill to swallow. But to get this draft, to win the draft lottery, and to get this first overall pick with an exceptional status player on the table, I think it was I think it was a bit of the hockey gods, coming back and giving us one back for kind of taking one away. So it kind of evens out. You talk to anybody about hockey, it always evens out. And I think this was one of those situations where, obviously the feeling was a bit of disappointment going into the pandemic, knowing what could have happened. But certainly with the draft lottery and getting first overall pick, just excitement within the organization, and then learning, that we would be taking Michael Misa. I think it's just it was a great moment. And I think, everyone's seen, the videos by now of the response from the fan base and that press conference on Thursday, with 200, 250 people showing up and filling that room, and really showing Michael, what we're all about here in Saginaw, and how great the fan base is. I think that shows you right there. That goes a long way for him, but also for our fan base, that, they're not down on this year. They understand what could have happened, and what will happen here in the future.
You mentioned that this year's draft pool is very deep. For those other players that will be selected to Saginaw, what can you tell them about what it's like playing for the Spirit?
Well, you look at, the culture that Dave Drinkel's built. Dave joined the team in 2015, the same year that I did. So I've had the pleasure of watching Dave build this franchise into what it is today, as one of the premier destinations in the OHL. And it's night and day. It really is, just from our facilities and the investment that our ownership group and Dick Garber's made into in not only, into the arena, but also our locker room and our workout facilities, to make our, organization stand out. And I think it does now. And you've seen the recruits, and it's not just Michael Misa, but, you think back to Cole Perfetti, and well, I don't want to start naming names. I know I'll forget one, but it's been great over the last, 5, 6, 7 years, to see these high end picks report to Saginaw and have success here, and go on to the National Hockey League, because, that's our model here today, NHL tomorrow. And, what we're seeing here as of late, especially over the last 3, 4 years, is that, we've had that, but not just with our high end picks, but, players that we've acquired and trade, like Hayden Hodgson, just playing his first NHL game in Philadelphia this year. And, Owen Tippett and guys like that have come through here, that have just recently played in the NHL. It seems like, along with, those players playing, it's Saginaw's brand is growing more and more in one of a premier destination in the OHL. And this is where you come to play if you want to play in the National Hockey League.
Well, Joey, definitely lots of exciting things happening for Saginaw in the next few days. Thank you again for taking the time to speak with me. I wish you and your club the best success in the future.
Anytime, Joel. Thanks for having me.